Welcome to the Lightspeed Investing Podcast. I'm so excited to bring on our guest, Dr. Jeffrey, today. He is the renowned chiropractor who's been in practice for 17 years, founder and owner of Smart Injury Doctors, who is super passionate about mentoring aspiring chiropractors so that they can be on the right track. As you know, in Lightspeed Investing, we're passionate in sharing information that is not covered in traditional colleges and graduate curriculums. That is the purpose of bringing Dr. Jeffrey on today, to share his wisdom and insights to these young aspiring chiropractors or business owners as well, so that they have a higher chance of success. Welcome, Dr. Jeffrey.
Yeah, thank you, Philip. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience a little bit. We're talking about business and, talking about the benefits, improving your business. And I have a lot of experience. Actually, when you said 17 years private practice, and then another 13 years in diagnostic testing and in developing programs for the spinal injury market itself. One of the things I set out to do, and we'll kind of get into the story of it, but one of the things I set out to do was standardize spinal injury workups. Spinal injuries are the #1 cause of chronic pain and disability today, and there's no standards in the market. So it was kind of been a pioneer in standardizing that. And along the way, I learned a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And with your journey, right, you've definitely accumulated a lot of trial and error, successes, lessons, so to speak. So, why don't we, as an introduction to the audience, let them know your origin story in the sense of why did Dr. Jeffrey decide to become Dr. Jeffrey?
Perfect. So 1984, as old as that sounds, when I say it, I'm like, oh my God. 84, I was in a business school at the University of Wisconsin. And I decided at that point that I was looking at, well, okay, what do I want to really be when I grow up? Business was pretty general. I knew that was good. And I had a uncle that was a chiropractor. He'd been a chiropractor his whole life. He was the happiest person that I'd ever met. I wanted to help people. I did not like medicine. I didn't like blood. I didn't like medicine. I didn't like needles. I didn't like that aspect of it. So though I thought about being a doctor, that was just sort of out for me. That just was not mine. So I looked into chiropractic. I looked into what he was saying. I'd always been adjusted. I'd always been treated because it was a family member. And that's pretty much how I made my decision. I then went to school, went through the 3 years, went through the training. I played national level rugby at the school, was on a full ride scholarship. I did a lot of really cool things with that, got out in 88 and started sort of a 5-year journey of going from an associate, a very low paid person, doing a lot of work, working 7 days a week, 12-hour days, making very little money, which is how you started in those days,
Mm.
to then opening my own practice and realizing that I couldn't just put a shingle out and the people would come. It wasn't like you could build it like the Field of Dreams. I had the whole idea, okay, you just put the sign out and people just start coming. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm in business for myself. Just about died. I mean, I think I made $25,000 in my first 2 years of my own private practice. So, somebody would be able to say, well, kudos to him for being able to only make $25,000 in the first 2 years of private practice and still be able to survive and still be able to pay rent and have this nice clinic and everything else that I had. But then I got some coaching and consulting. I hired a coach. At that point, my hours didn't go down. My 60 and 70-hour work weeks didn't go down, but my finances went through the roof. My numbers went through the roof. My clinic, my patients, the number of patients I treated, the number of staff I had to hire went through the roof. And so, that was pretty much my journey. Now, always, 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 always my journey was, okay, how do I help people? How do I help them quickly? How do I get them out of chronic pain, neck pain, headaches, injuries? How do I help a Medicare patient who has a spinal condition for the last 30 years still manage their condition and navigate Medicare, constraints and all the rules and regulations associated with delivery of Medicare type services? So that was pretty much the quick part of my story. that led me to a point, a very high level point in my clinic. And that led me to another area that then I really migrated into.
I see. Wow. That is a lot of great information there. But the one main thing was, in order for you to find success, had the open mind to go learn from someone, right? To get
Oh,
information in order to compress time and speed for yourself, right? So for you, like, what was the gap? Like, what was the before and after for you? What did you realize that, oh, these are the things that I'm not doing?
oh, everything. I mean, the, that which I thought I knew was producing $25,000 worth of income,
Uh-huh.
right? That which I didn't know was creating then hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of income. So the gap was huge. The gap was all of a sudden going from, you know, if you want to measure gap as a monetary gap, the gap was going from, you know, my dad was a banker. He's a president of a bank. He took the small $40 million bank to 10 banks in a $360 million banking system in rural Wisconsin, in a fairly rural area. And within the third year, I was making way more money than he was making. Right. So it was like, which is good for dad. You know, as a dad, I have kids and I want my kids to make a lot more money than I was. But it was like such a rise once I got coaching, once I got somebody to come in and give me an exterior point of view of what I was
Yeah.
doing, who had some experience already in the area
Mhm.
of helping businesses to build. Um, at that point, Philip, I never went a year in private practice without at least one consultant or
Mhm.
coach, however you want to look at it. And often, many years, I had two, right? I've never had a bad consultant. I've had better consultants than others. I've never had a bad coach. I never had anything that I bought where I invested in myself where it wasn't a great investment. Some were better than others, but I always got something from it.
That's right. That seems to be a huge commonality of successful people is the willingness and openness to always learn from those who are more successful than them and pay the price accordingly. Right now, for you, obviously, with your journey, there were some times of struggle. Right? Do you mind sharing with the audience? Because sometimes when you look at success, you can say, "Oh, that person did it according to luck. That person was in the right place at the right time." Do you mind sharing the psychology? Before you found success? I mean, when you were struggling and just trying to survive with a 25K annual salary or annual income from the clinic, like what were those moments like?
Okay. So the interesting thing is when you come out of college, you're already used to sort of this poverty complex, right? Because maybe not everybody that's listening, some people aren't. I
Mhm.
was, right? I was already into the, okay, eat top ramen and, not a lot of budget, right? So the, the mentality or the struggle for me was that I was incredibly shy, like incredibly shy. I was
Mm,
incredibly introverted, very good in athletics. So if I was in an athletic field or I was a captain of all the athletic teams, in that environment, I was very extroverted. But in the outside environment, and now the environment that I was plunged into in the professional environment, I was very shy. So I was very introverted. I had to overcome that. That wasn't necessarily easy to overcome. And part of how you overcome it is you lean into it and you do it through repetition and you sweat through it and you make mistakes and you just sort of lean into it. The other thing I had to overcome was that I had always been successful in sports. So I'd always been successful. And now I left a clinic, started my own clinic,
mm,
and I didn't feel like I knew how to be successful.
mm.
Okay. So when you don't know how to be successful, you struggle. You're like, okay. And you feel like, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe I don't have the money to hire a coach or I don't have, you don't know what to do. Um, that for me was a struggle because that cost me a year. That cost me a year of no, I think I can do it this way, or I think I can do it that way. And fortunately, at a point, I knew I needed a consultant. I knew I needed a coach. Went back to my father, borrowed money,
Mhm.
and I'm not talking about, I'm talking about like $12,500. It was at that time, that wasn't a small amount of money to borrow just to say, hey, I need a coach.
Yeah.
Um, but the biggest thing that I realized that, it's like I teach coaches today. And I'm sure you teach this the same. It's same in investing. Invest in yourself, invest in your education and your own growth. You're
Right.
you're the most important person on it. No matter what business you're in, you're the most important. Invest in your business. That's where you're going to make your most money. And then invest in things that can give you either bigger returns or can pay you passively.
Right.
So, generate cash flow and then invest on that side of it. So, it was really the coaching aspect of it, where I struggle to make a decision. Is this the right decision? I was afraid, what happens if I blow this 12,500? Like, what am I going to, all these thoughts that you have, which are really, really, scarcity mentality, because they're not real. I mean, look around today. If I drive today down to Clearwater Beach, I mean, there's $1 trillion worth of stuff down there. So there's obviously no scarcity of money. You
That's right.
you know, do you know what I mean? The cars, if I drive down there right now, I'll drive past, $2 million worth of cars are going to pass me back and forth. And I'm talking, nice high-end cars. There's no scarcity of money. There's these scarcity.
Abundance mindset.
Oh, the abundance is there, but you have to overcome whatever your barriers are, whatever your fears are. And I had a lot of them. I had plenty of them.
So in that regards, like obviously we have limited time,
Yeah.
today to discuss things. But if you were to outline the three biggest teaching points for the audience listening, right? Whether it be someone who is a recent graduate trying to find their way as a freshly minted doctor of chiropractor, whether it be a business owner who is a chiropractor that's been more established, maybe generating between 400K to $1 million. Like, what would you say from your 17 years of being in the field and going through personal development to be the three biggest wisdom points that you'd like to share?
Okay. So this leads right into an aha moment that I had. So I'm 5 years in, I've got this consultant, the practice is rocking. I'm still working 60 or 70 hours a week. My life is the clinic. So I realized one Sunday, I can remember it as clear as day. I was like, this is great. I make a ton of money, but I built a jail, like an absolute jail. And I couldn't get out of the jail. Like, I had to continue with the 60 and 70-hour weeks, putting it into the clinic in order to keep that clinic going the way it was. So there was no time anywhere else. And I built this personal jail. And I realized it at that point. That's when I decided that I needed to rethink my clinic a little bit. And I realized at that point I was successful enough that I could develop it the way I wanted to. I could look at treating the patients, attracting the type of patients that I wanted to treat. That's when I got into injury work. So at that aha moment, I realized, hey, if I've got a goal, let's say your goal right now is to make $10 million, it's 100 million or 50 million, or have 5 clinics, or, hey, I want to be able to set aside $1 million into an account, or I want to pay for whatever your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
Your business is your vehicle. Within that vehicle, there's separate vehicles. In a chiropractic practice, there's a Medicare vehicle, there's a cash vehicle, there's an insurance vehicle, and there's an injury vehicle.
Right.
Of all the vehicles, the injury vehicle was the one that I found to be the one for me most rewarding to work with, but also the most financially lucrative to work with.
Mm.
So I could do two things at once. I could treat the people that I really wanted to treat, and it would provide me with a lot more income into my, into my office. So, that for me was where I realized that I needed to go. But I think practitioners today, I wasn't looking at the fact that you need to start to plan your clinic for the next 10 years, the next 20 years. How do
Mm.
you want this to go? Not just like next month,
Right.
like, where do you want it to be and what do you want it to do? I went into the injury space. You say, what are the lessons I learned in the injury space? One, I had to learn a lot about the injuries themselves, because nobody trains anybody. No chiropractic college, medical college, osteopathic college, physical therapy college.
Right.
Any college in the country has a program on it. So I had to learn that. Then I had to learn, okay, what do I need to do to grow that aspect of my practice? And then I needed to learn the medical legal aspects of that as well.
I love that. I love that. And you're a important inspiration because not only are you a doctor of chiropractor background, but you also have business acumen, right, in regards to growing and scaling companies, as
Yes.
well as your legal acumen, which is a very rare multi-dimension trilogy, so to speak, right? If you want to tap into, again, the three teaching points for the audience, what would you say teaching points 1, 2, and 3 are?
The teaching points 1, 2, and 3 are, you're talking about from this particular
Yeah, in
talk
regards
today.
to your personal journey, right, of creating success for yourself.
Good. Get help.
Mhm.
If you definitely coaches and consultants, get help. Decide where you want to go. Get help.
Right.
Find somebody. Today, I don't do anything. I go find somebody that absolutely understands what it is. I look for the best there is, and then I go get that person to show me exactly what I need to do, because I know it shortcuts all these off roads that I don't want to go down anyway.
Yep.
Two, in the injury space, it's very easy to learn the spinal injury market, and it's a very incredibly lucrative vehicle for providers that want to go into that space. And then three, you know, is deciding, just deciding like what you want to have, what makes you happy.
Right. I love that. I love that. When you start hanging around the right rooms with the right people, you, even though you hear different stories and journeys, there are always commonalities in how they got there, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
being willing to be open-minded, being willing to go, I may not be as strong in this area, but I, am humble enough to admit that, so I will embrace what my potential weak points are and have someone look at it from a third person perspective is so important. For the audience listening, Dr. Jeffrey, now that you kind of shared these three teaching points, what would you have to say? Obviously, these are the three biggest wisdom points, but what about the three biggest mistakes to avoid, right? Just from your 17 years of becoming a successful doctor of chiropractor who also is a business owner and immersed in the legal field.
Not qualifying the person that you hire.
Okay.
So if you hire a consultant, qualify that consultant that they're good at what they do. They've got
Mhm.
stats at what they do.
Mhm.
So not qualifying that, right? Not understanding how to market and not realizing that marketing was one of the most important parts of my business. And
Marketing is senior to sales, right?
marketing is senior to sales. Marketing is everything. And marketing in this space is actually really easy if you narrow it to a niche where there isn't
Mhm.
anybody in the space, which is what we show providers to do. So, hiring the expertise, qualifying the expertise, really getting the fact that you have to understand marketing. And then third, realizing that your product is also very, very senior. And the biggest product that you have to get is physical recovery results. If you're going to be in this space, the product for the person is their
Absolutely.
recovery.
Right.
And so you have to focus. You can't lose sight on that as the product.
Right.
And those are those are the three things that I would say.
I love that. I really love that. Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Jeffrey. For the listeners listening in, what would you say is the best way for them to get a hold of you so that you can provide more insights and wisdom points to mentor the next generation?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of us is you just look us up at www.smartinjurydoctors.com. Call us at 940-6513. 800-940-6513. You could schedule a time if you're interested in having more interest or getting more interest in the in the spinal injury area. I definitely will get on the phone, speak with you, and start to enlighten you on what it is that we do. The other thing is, I know, Philip, we're looking at another, hey, we'll have another one of these. This is going to be the driest damn subject, spinal injuries. I'm going to share with you how spinal injuries got me into the Royal Palace
Hmm.
and on a helicopter ride with the ex-prime minister of Thailand,
Wow.
5 billionaires, the minister of finance from the UAE, and the minister of tolerance flying the helicopter. And I got in there because of spinal injuries.
So seems to me like you have some friends that you can introduce these aspiring chiropractors, business owners to, huh?
If they were in Abu Dhabi and Dubai in that particular story, yes. But yes, we have a lot of contacts. We've been in the market for a long time. Yes.
I love it. And actually, one of the things that just hit me is so my family, right? We own a CPA firm in Hong Kong. And one of the things I hear from professionals is there's really specific nuances around marketing, like especially with also legal firms as well, law firms. So I just want to get something clear. Are you saying to me that when you are a business owner who is a doctor of chiropractor looking to grow and scale your company, there's not necessarily as much restrictions around hunting or going out to the marketplace, I should say, and marketing. Because from what I understand, there's a lot of restrictions for CPAs, lawyers, etc.
No, yes. So we'd have to clarify a little bit more what you're talking about as far as restrictions and what you can talk about and whatnot. But no, as far as marketing and marketing out to, obviously a chiropractor's marketing out to their patient base and no, it's very free. When I say free, there are some restrictions, but the restrictions are not heavy as heavy as they are on some of the financial instrument industries, things like that.
Wow. If you understand the significance of the statement that he just made, I hope you realize that there is a treasure mine of gold to go after. Because as professionals, there are specific nuances in which you can create
Exactly.
public awareness. That's what I was getting at. And when
Yes.
I hear the fact that there is not as much red tape bound within the industry itself, it's just all about getting attention because money follows attention and money
Yes.
follows engagement, right? And so if you're able to market freely and engage freely, or more, I should say more freely compared to other professionals, right? Like a CPA in Hong Kong or business legal firm in America, what have you, even your financial advisors, right? One of my best friends, he currently oversees all of the investments at JP Morgan, specifically in the Georgetown, DC area. He's a fellow alum at KU, but he got his financial career start at Northwestern Mutual. And I remember him always telling me, even though he has the autonomy, like an independent business owners, financial advisors have a lot of regulations in how they promote their services as well. So
Yes.
if you're listening, I just really want to emphasize, and I'm so glad that I didn't let that just fly by my head, right? Like you need to understand that means there is a very lucrative opportunity when you hold a doctor of chiropractor, and if you have the right business acumen to add to it, you will live a life of abundance on top of abundance, right? And get connected to the people that you need to get connected with if you're willing to learn from those who have found success.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Perfect. I'm glad you didn't roll past that point. It's a huge point.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Yeah.
Jeffrey. Listen, it's always been great, speaking to each other as we continue to cultivate an amazing relationship. Dr. Jeffrey, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you if they want to learn more and get more information?
Again, www.smartinjurydoctors.com or call us at 800-940-6513.
Well, you heard it right there and there from the man himself. Dr. Jeffrey, thank you so much for being on the Lightspeed Investing podcast today. And unless you have any concluding questions, remarks, comments, I would love to officially conclude this conversation. And on our next episode with Dr. Jeffrey, we will be going in depth of his smart injury doctor's proprietary system that has allowed him to grow and scale his chiropractic practice and clinic. Do not miss out. Stay tuned. This is a gentleman full of wisdom, and you need to learn as much as you can from him. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeffrey.
Thank you very much.
You have a great day.
Thank you.